Al, I mentioned in the last segment, we talked about the income bucket because we have two buckets in our, one in our working years, and then we have our retirement years, the golden years, we call it, of our life. So we have your income bucket and a wealth bucket. In this segment, I want to get into that wealth bucket, that retirement bucket, 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, TSPs, whatever company sponsored plan that could be, that we classify that all as your wealth bucket, right? Now, with markets at all-time highs, people should be doing pretty well in their retirement accounts. Hopefully they are. But the fact of the matter is people still are not reaching their income, or I should say their retirement goals. They don't have enough to retire and then stay retired. They're stuck living off Social Security or just maybe living a lesser of a lifestyle, which is not what we want to do in those golden years. So what are some of the different tools that a lot of people are coming into these investing classes that want to learn more about those tools to manage that wealth bucket?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that there is a retirement crisis, Josh, is that bucket you're talking about.
Yep.
There's a hole in the bucket.
And it's in the bottom, right?
It's in the bottom of the bucket.
Kind of like the pond. I built a pond, and it's actually leaking.
Yeah.
So let's call it the pond, the hole in the pond.
That has to be a little frustrating.
Tell me about
to
it.
see that empty pond every day.
Yeah, so I have that pond that's draining. That's frustrating. But you know what's more frustrating for people? Losing their life savings or having those fees taken out of that bucket.
Yeah, you can always refill that with water, your pond, but your wealth bucket, your retirement bucket that you've worked 30, 40 years to fill, you can't let there be a hole in there. Well, there is a hole, but what you can do is you can get some financial duct tape and maybe plug that hole. It can be anywhere from a relatively small hole to almost the whole bottom of the bucket gone. The small hole that we're talking about are fees that are being charged to you for, to be honest with you, very little or no help at all.
No advice.
No advice. And we always ask people when they come to these classes how many meetings they have with the plan sponsor every year. And almost always it's 0. Maybe once in a while there is somebody that has one meeting a year where maybe they have a company meeting, but they're not really getting any specific advice. The only advice you are getting is that here's something you should probably participate in. We'll take some money out of your paycheck every time you get paid, and we'll send it off to somebody who will put it into something. You never meet that person. You don't know who that person is. They don't know who you are. But for doing that, for putting your money into something that you have chosen, you've told them where to put the money, they charge you a fee for that. And typically it goes into a mutual fund, which has a series of fees of its own, plus the plan sponsor charges a fee. Over the course of your working years, and I think most people are not aware of this, it can cost you maybe 40 to 50 or 60% of what you could have in your retirement account. So one key important thing is to learn how to reduce those fees if you can. And one way to do that is, as soon as possible, set up a self-directed IRA. Maybe the additional money after you have, if you have a match in your employer-sponsored plan, and those matches, by the way, are great. That's free money, so you want to take advantage of that. You're still encouraged to keep putting more money in even after that match has been met. What a lot of students that have gone through education do is they will put the extra money into a self-directed IRA where they don't have the fees. But even greater than that is access to more assets that you can trade in those self-directed IRAs. The leverage assets we mentioned, futures, forex, options. You can have strategies that will benefit, give you the potential to be beneficial in the up markets, the down markets, the sideways markets, to provide protection for what you have. No fees, so the potential for growth there is really substantial.
You're right. It's just being able to do that with confidence, but you have to have the proper tools to be able to do that. You shouldn't just go and manage your IRA without the proper tools. You got to have the proper tools. Where are you going to find price? How you're going to identify where to get in those positions, where to get out of them, because it's not just a invest every other Friday strategy that your broker is putting you into. Why do they do that? It's the easiest thing they can do, and it's automated. Is your retirement, is that automated? It's not. You should not have an automated plan. You should have, what is your objective, and how do you reach that objective with step-by-step rules, plus those tools. Al, there's a lot of there's a lot of people worried about this inflation, right? There's a lot of inflation that's not really being talked about because the cost of everything seems to be going up and up.
Correct.
And that's, putting some fear in a lot of people with their retirement accounts because inflation could trigger potentially a market change, right? But you mentioned something earlier. You talked about protecting your retirement, and the proper tool to use that is options. What are some of the techniques and tools that you can use with options to potentially protect your life savings?
Yeah, well, when you look at people, let's say you're looking at a company that has a 401k plan or 403b. Does everybody in the company have the same goal? They want their life to be the same. I think I used this analogy once before, but there may be somebody who wants to buy a yacht and sail around the world. Maybe somebody else who wants to buy a canoe and sail around Lake Harriet or row around Lake Harriet.
Yep.
Well, you need different tools to be able to do that. You need a different rate of return in your retirement accounts. So they're tools that are specific to what your goals are, what your expectations are. Options actually are something that's an asset that can be utilized not only for your short-term goals, but also probably the best leveraged asset to use with your retirement accounts. If you have let's say you have a large portfolio, maybe you've got $500,000-$600,000 or $1 million in your retirement account, you would like to continue to grow that, but you're a little reluctant about taking a lot of it, putting it into the stock market, which is the valuations are extremely high right now. A lot of the individual equities out there are very high priced. So a lot of people are a little reluctant to take that money and do that. However, because interest rates are so low, they're almost in many cases forced to visit the stock market to get any kind of return. Well, with options, you can do that. You can still participate in the movement of the stock market or the futures market or the Forex market without actually owning, for example, a stock. If you want to participate in the movement of Apple stock, you don't have to buy Apple stock. You can use an option that will allow you to benefit whether Apple goes up or whether Apple goes down in value. But instead of having a position maybe that would require $13,000 or $15,000, you could maybe have the ability to control the movement of the shares of that stock for a small fraction of that. That allows you to take a small amount of your retirement account and utilize it with a leveraged asset, which gives you the opportunity with that small upfront investment to control a much larger investment.
Well, and that way you can also have different buckets in your wealth bucket, a steady growth bucket, have some in cash, some in variable. So that way when Al's talking about taking a small amount, it's not really a small amount, it's just a portion of that, but then spread it in diversified assets. That way you can protect what you have. And I want to just kind of clarify something you said earlier too. You mentioned somebody, that we've been seeing a lot of people coming into these investing classes that do have that $500,000 or $1 million portfolio, but the psychology of people that have that, people say, "Oh, I have $1 million," and they think that's a lot of money, but most people know that that's not enough to retire on. It's hard to think especially with inflation, things keep going up, but also you have to continue to grow that to be able to live the lifestyle you want during retirement. So that's why when I was talking about using options, using that to purchase stock at a discount, but also to be able to potentially protect what you have. And the key is to eliminate those fees by doing it yourself. And coming up next, we're going to continue to talk about these different assets by leveraging yourself and buying stocks at a discount, also how to get started. We'll be right back.